today with this beautiful group of people. We have Linda in Florida, Suzanne in Pennsylvania, Christina in Michigan, Charlie in New York, and Mary Lou up in Massachusetts. And right now, I am out in the West Coast in California and loving life. So, welcome, welcome. We are reading the book Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. And oh my gosh, I'm in love with this book. I just finished it. I want you all to know. I couldn't stop, so I did read the whole thing. Our discussion is kind of open-ended, so wherever you're at in the book, that's where you're at in the book. And we will just dive right in and see how you all are doing with it. Any questions that have come up for you, any comments you have about it, any of your favorite takeaways that you are getting from the book. And today we are sharing bumper stickers because that's one of Matthew's favorite things that he shares with us in the book are those bumper stickers of life. So who would like to begin?
I have a real question here. One of the things that he wrote when he was turning 18, he said his father and mother believed that if you, quote, if you haven't learned it yet, you're not going to. So I kind of, it rubbed me the wrong way. And I thought, oh, I'm glad I didn't learn that, because I think there's always opportunity for ongoing learning. And then later on in the book, I think he came to that. Maybe that was meant to be one of the green and yellow light, the yellow and red lights that turned to a green light for him. Because he did, in fact, talk about moving forward and, embracing newness and in fact did that when he got into the after he became successful with movie making. He didn't like it that people were identifying him as a movie star and not in person, not Matthew. They did a couple things like that in his childhood that rubbed me the wrong way, like insisting that he was Matthew. He wanted to be Matt, I think, to one of his friends one time, and he was reprimanded for that, and I think those were like his yellow and red lights that he turned into green to become who he was going to be and not what the pattern was set, but to break that pattern and say, no, this is me. I like being who I am. Do you agree with that? Like, it just rubbed me the wrong way when they said, if you haven't learned it yet, you're not going to. Because I've known people in my life that believe that. They feel that way, Oh, well, at her age, that's the way she's going to be. And there's going to be no change in her. I don't like it. What do you think?
It sounds like his parents talking.
Yeah.
And he was saying what they said. But every time in the book he hits a green light, it's because he learned something new. And most of the time it worked. Right. Sometimes learned from something that didn't work. But hi, Jean.
There's Jean.
But, he was excited he'd gone to Australia and lived so much. He said there was more love in a family in Africa with many children than there were in people that had material things. So, I mean, he was always learning and he loved to travel and find out new things. So that sounds more like something he learned from his parents.
Yeah, I think it was a quote from what the father had said to him at one point, that, if they didn't learn it by 18, they're not going to. Yeah. And I just disagree with that. I think we're always learning.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, I can't see any parents nowadays saying that anymore. I don't think, times changed. That's from way back when. I can't see us. Christina, can you see saying that to your kids? No.
Not at all. Yeah. No. As a matter of fact, we learned with my husband's head injury, we had a doctor that told us that the after the first year and then maybe a little bit into the 2 years, that would be all that there was for improvement. And that most of it was in the first year, and that was it. And then I had a therapist because it upset me a great deal that day when he said that to me.
Yeah.
And I actually had a therapist, a physical therapist that worked with Carrie, who said, that's what they get told in textbooks. I'm going to tell you in real life with my own experience that has not been true. She said, I will say that overall it sometimes slows down, but it never truly stops if you're willing to put that work into it. So I actually did not like that quote too, because it actually brought me back to there. But
Yeah.
Matthew also, he bucked the system quite a bit with, like, even when he was in college and they were all upset with him because he liked popular culture, and that's not, they got all uppity and snobby about it.
Yeah, I picked
And
up on
he gave it right back to him, like, just because it's popular doesn't mean it's not good,
Yeah.
right. He said, tell me why. Tell me why
Right,
you think
tell me
that.
why.
And he challenged them and confronted, and I'm like, oh,
Yep.
you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not so far into probably as you guys. He came back from Australia, like page 93, something like this. But I really like that by the end of the Australia trip, he is defining himself. That's the one point where he says, and now basically I know who I am, maybe not for the whole life, but I like that. It was like he's coming into his own. So, because that was a wild trip with that family, the dysfunctional family.
Ooh.
And he did so well, taking responsibility, finding somebody else, and learning all those jobs. I was impressed with 18, 19 to have the maturity to do that. And with it, it was impressive to me. Yeah. Good, Matthew. You did well.
I agree. And Mary Lou, I'm glad that you brought that up first for us to discuss, because I had actually turned to one of the quotes from the book, from his journal, and it says, sometimes you got to go back to go forward. And I don't mean going back to reminisce or chase ghosts. I mean, go back to see where you came from, where you've been, and how you got here. And I think that goes along with that.
Yes.
To go back and look at our upbringing and what were we told, and were we told that we'll never be enough or we'll never be great? And maybe not in those words even, but maybe it's an attitude. Maybe it's somebody that our peers or a caregiver, that raised us, that just thought we weren't going to make anything of ourselves, not going to be that, that great being that we could potentially be. So I think he did a lot of self-reflecting. Well, I know he did a lot of self-reflecting, but I think that might have been one of those things that he really looked at.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Amazon was really, that trip was like, he went to find himself and to see who he was, I guess. And then when he came back with the trailer and everything and just going all over the country, it was like, wow. You think with all his money and everything, who he just wanted to be down to earth, like,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was, it's, I guess that's what makes him so different or whatever, that he didn't take the fame and fortune for, he just wanted to be himself. Like, that's
He
what.
almost seemed frustrated by it at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Already taught. I mean, it was like frustrating to him. Like we were saying earlier, but he didn't want to identify with that he didn't want to take that on as his I am.
Right. That's like when he was in that bar in Montana with all the, the locals.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, and you hear the stories of all the people there, and he's like, oh my God,
And he said, remember, Charlie, when he did that at the end of that chapter, he said, and I'm glad that the satellite wasn't working that night. I liked the night at the bar instead of the game.
Yeah.
And it's
And
true, isn't it? Sometimes we all get caught up in the routine and the plan, and then the unexpected is so much better.
That's like the one quote which I liked. One of them. There's many of them that I really like. But common sense is like money and health. Once you have it, you have to work to keep it.
Yeah.
You know, that was one of the good ones. You know, there's
Was
so
that one of
many
your
of them.
bumper stickers?
That isn't the one I picked, but you know.
Oh.
I call them Matthewisms now.
Oh, there you go.
I wrote all I want is what I can see. And
In front of
all I can see is in front of me. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
I
that.
get
that-
it.
have we done bumper stickers yet?
No, that was the first
No.
one we've seen.
Where's
Oh.
your Jane?
I've got mine, but you got to realize that I had picked out one that was personal to me.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know how you all did it, but something that when he said it, I just went, ding, there you are.
Right.
So mine was, is it backwards for you all?
No, it's
Looks
fine.
good.
You can read it.
It
Oh, I
says,
like,
don't make drama. It will find you soon enough.
I love it.
And that's, I think about my life, and I've always been very dramatic, Something happens and, oh, it's the end of the world. It's bad. And most of the time, nothing came about the way I thought it was. And so I've learned now, and that just hit home with me. Why make problems for yourself and drama for yourself? You're going to get enough of it the way life gives it to you. So I really like that one. It spoke to me. So,
I love it.
but one of the things I wanted to say about him that I admired, and you may have already said it because I came in late. I regret that I came in late.
She's
I didn't
learning.
say that. I just got through with Ruth. So, I had a good excuse. Anyway, he didn't even, he was making all this money, right? And famous and all the usual things. But he got to the point, and I hope you all have gotten to that point in the book. I'm sure you have, where he didn't want to just do it to make money anymore, to be famous. He wanted to do things of worth to people, of value, things that would mean something. And so he, for a whole, 2 years, he didn't even work because everybody had him set in that mold of being the handsome comedian lover, whatever. And he didn't want that persona. He wanted to be someone who had depth, who had character, who helped in some way the world. And
Right.
so it didn't work for 2 years. And he had enough money to live off of because he'd been careful with his money like most actors aren't. And he did that until he got the parts that he felt had meaning. And I think that takes a lot of character because most people just want money, 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 and build up that big old bank account.
Yeah. He took a spiritual role, I think, when he
Exactly.
right, with Jodie Foster or whatever. Yeah.
He wanted his life to mean more than money. He wanted his life to actually mean something, to be of worth. So I really admired him for that.
Yeah, he wanted to leave a legacy.
Exactly.
And I'm so glad that he did that because one of his movies that I am so impressed by, and I've probably seen it now about 8 times, is Serenity. And Serenity, if you haven't seen it, it really brings home the fact that nothing is real. It's all an illusion. You know, that all of these things that we think are the way they are, they're not. You know, they're just energy. Everything that we put so much importance on is just energy. So I love that movie by him, and I'm so glad that he took that role on and really
What
brought
was
that.
the one with
message out.
Jodie Foster?
I forget. Let me see if I can find
See, I
it.
haven't gotten that far. I'm somewhere around where Suzanne is, I think.
What was?
It was when he came back from the Amazon.
Yeah, I don't know what the movie was.
Remember, but it was a really good movie.
I'll have to look it. I'll look it up.
Yeah. So I want to share my bumper stickers. Like I said, I'm an overachiever. So I had to have two because I couldn't figure out which way I wanted to say this.
Okay.
So the first one is, whoops, I'm disappearing. No roof, no shoes, living the dream. I did the living without the G because there's no ending to that living the dream. And that really, when he talks about how a roof is a man-made thing, it's those limits. You know, we don't have to have a roof. We don't have to have anything holding us down. And I don't wear shoes most of the time, so no roof and no shoes, living the dream. And the other way that I wanted to say it, and this is what the bumper sticker I'd really like to have on my car, is roofless by choice. It is a choice. I know you can't see this one as well, and I've got a background on. I should just go ahead and take the background off, and that would make it a lot easier. Do that.
Roofs are for houses, not people.
Yeah.
They are
Roofless by choice.
Ruthless
by
by
choice.
Oh, I thought you said ruthless. I thought that was odd.
Yeah, that too. Roof, the thing over your head.
Okay.
Roof.
Roofless by choice. I love that. I think that's going to be my
Yeah.
motto.
I'm glad I saw it. I thought that doesn't sound like Terry.
Yes,
Mine
it's that
goes along-
the dark side. I went to the dark side, Linda.
I guess so.
It happens.
Mine goes along a little bit with yours. It was the best summer of my life. And and I think that was because he experienced that innocence of childhood and the freedom of it. And that is what his roots became. That's where he got his strength to grow and allow himself to go, on the trips and everything. He wasn't fearful to be by himself. He just had his dog with him when he went, and all on his own, and he found his faith and his life values by being alone. He always went back, and I did read a little ahead, and I read when he went to this place, a retreat center of some sort. And, when he went and talked, it sounded like me. He talked for 3.5 hours to drain his soul of all the nonsense that he experienced and all that. The guide that was there with him, Brother Andre or Brother somebody, Christian or somebody, he said to him, he said, "Me too." And I've had a friend of mine say, we would go to a conference like 2 hours away, and we'd get in the car, and I'd be so pent up from, being fed so much information from people around me and my job and everything. I'd just ramble for an hour. And one day she said to me, "Mary Lou, you haven't stopped for an hour. I consciously decided to let you talk." And I really didn't know what to do with it, and I just said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she said, no, you needed to do that. And I think it's not so much that I need to talk as I need solitude. I need more time to myself. Not now, not so much now, but back at that time. in a way now too, I think now I appreciate and embrace those the best summer of my life when I was, just me out with nature, enjoying what God had given me and not what's bombarded, with others' opinions and others' ideas. And the healthiest I usually am is when I'm alone with just me and all the universe that's speaking to me non-verbally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That film is Contact is the one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
The good
Yes.
one, yeah.
That's
I
the
enjoyed
one.
that.
yeah. I haven't seen any of his films, just the one, Mud, I think. He's starting a lot of them. I'll have to start watching some of them.
You'd enjoy Contact. And I think it has something to do with, how we're getting the message that the geometries and the music and a lot about, there's something about like geometry and the secret of pi and all that in the movie Contact. The hidden secrets of pi. So.
Yeah.
Well, I did a couple too, and I chose one from one of the Matthewisms, and apparently Charlie and I are thinking about common sense. So I'll take a little common sense
Right.
Go with
to
that.
go with that knowledge. I like that one.
I love that idea.
Yep.
That really impressed me too.
Yep,
Christina.
I like that one. And then this one is be guided by spirit, not driven by ego.
Yes, another great
And
one.
I would add, you might drive yourself right off a cliff to that driven part.
Christina, show me that one again. Be guided by spirit.
Yep.
Not driven
Okay.
by ego.
Okay. Not driven by what?
Ego.
Ego.
Okay. I'm writing them down.
I love that one. I love both of those, Christina. Those were very powerful. And when he would say them, I would just like pause because I'm listening on Audible. I just would pause it and like, oh, I want to think about that for a minute.
I love knowledge. I love that, I told you I have like it. I'm not a Gemini, but sometimes I think I'm a Gemini because I have, two totally different thought processes going on in my head. And one's really, really sciencey and the other one is not so sciencey. But definitely that guided by spirit. And the common sense one, I don't know. I need that common sense too, because that goes a long way to go with the knowledge. I'm always trying to fill my head up with this knowledge, and it's like, really what's got me by best in life has been the common sense.
Mm-hmm.
And he made that point in a couple of different ways too. He used to, when he left school, and he got in trouble for that. His professor said, you're not going to keep your A's if you don't attend classes. And he made a deal with the professor and said, okay, give me all C's. Yeah, give me all C's. And that's what happened. He wound up with all C's, but he said he learned more from the life experiences, but involving himself with the movie situations, that's where he really learned, was not so much in the classrooms, but the life experiences. Yeah. Same idea, I think, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Common sense versus intellect. You need both, right? The trick is to have that balance.
The balance is always balanced. Always balanced.
He's struggling for the best of both.
I made one up. We are, is it backwards?
No, you go.
Oh, we are on a journey, be the driver and the navigator.
Oh, I like that.
Good, Linda.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
That's for my road trips.
Oh, I like that.
Love
Oh,
it.
I'm gonna put it in my car. Oh,
Well, I got
Tell
one
us
from,
more about it, Linda. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Tell us more, and then I'll share Stacy's.
What, Mary Lou?
Tell us more about that. What do you mean, the navigator and the driver?
Well, the driver sometimes has a destination and they go there without thinking. But the navigator tells them where to go and why. So don't just follow something because you're supposed to. Be the navigator and decide where you want to go and why you want to take that road.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's good, Terry, huh? Because sometimes the navigator doesn't give you very good instructions.
and has attitude.
Oh, you two have a hidden message there.
Jane does not get along with my navigator, my GPS.
Oh,
Got attitude. There's no people with attitude.
Sometimes we can ignore that GPS. Sometimes it's telling us to go somewhere and we might want to go the long way around to get there. And so we just keep going, and then we start getting the message to reroute, or that, get back on the route, get back on the, how do they say it? Get back on the, I can't remember the word that it uses, but sometimes we can just ignore that navigator and say, no, I want to go look at this road. I want to go see where this goes.
and they're very stubborn.
I got one for
Yeah.
Terry. When you're navigating, don't have your mind up in the clouds.
Well, that's true too, Charlie.
or sometimes do.
Yeah.
I know Aunt Mary Lou will appreciate this, but I remember mystery rides and I still take them all by myself. I'll go by a road that I've never driven down before and I'll be like, oh, it's time for another mystery ride.
I love that. I've done
I
that
like
too, Katrina.
Yeah,
We
we
grew
would-
up with mystery rides.
Yeah, I get lost on purpose. I love that. And then you
I
say,
do that.
okay, I'll eventually
that.
end up somewhere.
I do that all the time here. I take the back ways. I hate the main highways. I take always,
I do too.
and it's so fun.
And the message was that all roads lead to
All
home.
roads lead to home.
No man, because one of my younger brothers was sensitive. He was only, I think, 4 or 5, and he was crying one day. He said, I don't know where we're going. I don't know where we're going. And my father said, it's a mystery ride. And don't forget, all roads lead to home. And so then we'd say, let's go on another mystery ride. And I think that's where that whole concept originated in our family. But the message was all roads lead to home. And it doesn't matter, Linda, does it? If we're the navigator or we're the passenger or we're the driver, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Must have had a wonderful family, Mary Lou.
It was very interesting, beautiful family.
Yeah, you all had
Good,
so
good.
much fun. And
Yeah. It was, when I look back on my childhood, I was so blessed, and I was the brat, I was the teenage brat. It wasn't my fault. I grew up in the 60s. That's what I always say.
Those were the best years.
I was being trained, to be open and to be free in
you
my
were.
mind. And, and the older brothers and sisters were very, very disciplined and in a sometimes harsh way. My mom and dad, wanted the best for all of us. And, we had supper at 5 o'clock every night and sat in the same pew in church every Sunday. And, Saturday night we would, have a bath and we'd share the bath water. The first half would use one tub full, then it would get drained, and the second half I tell my daughters that, when they were in their 20s, I said, why are you using a different towel every day for supper, for a bath, and they thought it was disgusting that we used the same bath water, but that's just what we did. We didn't know any different. And, when you think about it, we were conserving things like people try to now. They make that effort, my parents had the right idea, but yeah, there was so many beautiful things.
I remember my mom saying, boy, did things change from us older ones down to the youngest, because I had slept overnight once at my grandparents', and my Aunt Kathy, who's only 12 years older than I am, had come home and she was drunk. And she came stumbling through the door. I'm not even kidding. And my grandpa was like, you better go upstairs to your room right now. And when I told my mom that story, she was just like, what? she
because
threatened her.
Your mom was the second oldest, and she would have been given the belt.
She would have been given,
and not been allowed to go out.
She
for
said
months.
Was that right, and not allowed out. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they softened apparently from number 1 to number 11.
Well, I was like in between your mom and Aunt Kathy, and I was in the middle. And when my father brought the belt out to me, I would say, you can't just whip me. I'm not an animal. You have to talk to me about what you didn't like and why you didn't. And the older ones would say, be quiet, you're going to get it worse. But I think I broke them a little bit, and I also taught them when they were still raising some of the children. I remember visiting and saying, I love you. When I'd leave, I love you. And it took the longest time for them to say, I love you. And I taught them that piece of it too. It was like two extremes. And, I remember my dad reprimanding me. I was out of school, still living in their home. And he was yelling at me for something. And I said, Dad, you're just mad at me because I'm just like you. And he had no words. And my mother was in the kitchen laughing. She thought that was hysterical, but I could tell my father because it was the truth. I had the I had the outgoing nature, But yeah, it's a life experience, and the younger ones, they missed out on some things, not getting spanked like we did, or belted, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't life. It wasn't abuse. It was their way to teach us right from wrong. Today they call it abuse. I know they do, but my take on it is they gave us what they had, just like Matthew McConaughey. They gave us what they had, and they loved us. It was always done with love. As violent as it was for that purpose, to form us and to shape us into loving people. And I think it worked with, the majority of us. I don't know anybody in my family that abuses their children or, hurt or didn't want to give them what my parents gave us. So I don't know what, there's a big, long philosophy on that, isn't it? Whether you use spank or not spank these days, I think, again, you find the balance in between, right? You just find the balance in between.
And like you said, it's a different time. We talked about that a little bit with Matthew's book about how there were some things that happened where I was just like, whoa. He had again, there was more violence in the bar where when that bouncer put his hands on his dad, and he said he went into a blind rage. Now reading more about him and hearing him in interviews and stuff, he doesn't strike me as a violent person. Like, I wouldn't describe him as a violent person, and yet he did happen both to him and from him. So thank God, like, we're getting back to, we all have that opportunity to take what we can, and yes, we do learn from things, and we never stop learning. It's not that, thank God we just didn't stop at 18, because if that, oh boy, if all I had in my head for wisdom and knowledge was up until the age of 18, oh
Good
boy.
Good point.
I think we all have that button somewhere that something is just too outrageous that we you know, like if we see someone attacking our children or something, and that button gets pushed, and I guess that's what happened to him.
Mhm.
Here was his father, and that button got pushed, and he just couldn't contain himself at that moment. But he learned from it, so you know, that's the thing. You know, and then his father was able to call up all his friends and tell him the kid would be okay because he had it in him. So, you know what? I wanted to make a bumper sticker that said, wear your clothes if you're going to play bongos at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Be a good idea.
Or buy an island where you can go do that.
Or you can,
No neighbors. Suzanne, did you have a bumper sticker?
Yeah, I think this would be appropriate for the pandemic. A bumper sticker, and it's not a Matthewism. I heard that somewhere here.
Yeah.
Sad.
oh, yes, I like it.
You read it?
Yes,
I
yeah,
have to turn around to read it.
I
beautiful.
like that.
I like that.
That's sort of supposed to be a little encouraging, you know, for us all hibernating at the moment and stuff, to just
Yeah.
go and look around. That was my bumper sticker.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Susan.
I love it. And it goes
I do
along
too.
with Stacy's bumper sticker. See if I can get it where y'all can read it. Can you read it?
Yeah, there it is.
Life is a highway. Avoid the off ramps and make use of the rest areas. Yes.
Right, yeah, good.
You know, I could kick myself for not writing them down as I heard them because I was listening to it, and all these wonderful things came up, you know, and I do that when I read the book, but listening to it somehow I didn't do it, and now I'm going to have to listen to the whole book again so I can write it down or read it.
Did you have it in different formats, Jean?
I'm sorry.
Don't you have it in different formats?
Yes, I have it in audio, and I have the book, which is very soft. Yes,
It is.
it's very sensual. Yes, it is.
And Stacy just joined us virtually. Stacy, we just read your bumper sticker and love it.
Easy.
And then I have Kathy's also, Kathy Hand.
Oh,
Life is our resume. It is our story. The choices we make write the chapters.
love it. That's
Very
a
nice.
true author, you.
Love that one
Yeah.
too. She says she condensed it to that.
Like it.
And take pencil, no pencil, take ink pen when you write it, right? No pencil.
No pencil, that's
No
right.
pencil.
You know, I feel as though I have to say something nice about Matthew's parents or his dad specifically, because even after some of the things that I was like, ooh, whoa, you know, when he went to his dad and said, I'm not going to law school, I'm going to film school.
Mhm.
And his dad was very, is that what you want to do? Yes. Okay, then do it. But don't, my dad would have said, don't do it half-ass, but do.
My dad.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it was like, I thought that was a wonderful, you know, loving thing to say to someone, you know, because it really doesn't matter whether we agree with our loved ones' decisions in life or what they're going to go for. I'm sure his dad was thinking, oh my God, an actor for real? You're gonna do that? You know, people don't make, you know, a lot of people try and don't make it that far, but he didn't. And I had to give him kudos for that.
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
know, that's another yellow light. And red light experience that turned into an incredible green light that I picked up on. It was one of the deepest things in the book that touched me, was when he got the part to for A Time to Kill, and he wanted the main part, and he wasn't ready for it. And he said, go on another trip, and he did. And he came back and he did get the main part where he was the attorney. And when he tried out, he did everything wrote the way that it was written. And he said, now you do it the way you see it, Matthew. And he did. And he was a powerhouse attorney from the gut. And I saw his father in him in that. And I wrote it down because in the movie, and it was a John Grisham book, and he said that he became he used unlikely behavior, using cussing and spitting, and addressed the child's lost innocence, and he became actually violent as the attorney. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's where his childhood began to benefit him, and it was after he had lost his father had died. And, and I thought his father, and he said that, he stopped after his father died, another bumper sticker, stop dreaming and start dealing. And he was going to keep him alive forever by talking to him and doing his best to live what his father taught him. So yeah, even with the hardships of childhood, when it's less than perfect, it's what we make of it, and I saw that happening when he was playing that role, that he became like his father, and I thought about how his mother and father used to beat each other up. Remember the beginning of the book, and it was so horrifying, but he turned, at this point in the book, he turned it around and kind of reflected those negative, unpleasant things to tell an important message in that story, in that movie, the John Grisham story, so that's what we always need to be aware of, that it's a never ending process. Our life, like Linda said, it's a journey in the car, or it's a journey, all of his journeying tells us that, I guess, when he went to the Amazon and we got in the, in the trailer, and I forgot what that fancy name is, the silver trailer. It's the trailer to go in, right?
The Airstream.
The Airstream, yeah. And Terry, when I was reading it, I thought of you and how you're in your love van, your angel mobile, and you're traveling now,
and his trailer was Cosmo.
Yeah.
I think that's why this appealed to me so much, Mary Lou. To be ruthless by choice.
Yes, because you're doing that.
It's the freedom. Yeah, living my dream.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a section that I wish you talked a little bit about the freedom. And how it isn't about like the laws, or at least that's how I took it as, and I was kind of putting it in pandemic, I think, terms, where you have to find your own freedom. It has nothing to do with the situation necessarily that you're in, that would keep that freedom from you. You have to find freedom. And it made me think about, I have a girlfriend who actually works closely in the prison system, counseling and helping those that are within the prison system. And I remember her saying once, that she's able to take sometimes from the people and learn. And that was one of the things that there were prisoners in there who had been in there for 25 years, and yet they found a way to still find a freedom in a different sense than where their circumstances were behind bars, which, and I've heard that happen before with prisoners of war, and just, stories like that have come back to me where it's, it's a prison or a playground. It's up to you.
Yeah, wasn't it Gandhi that was in prison? And he just really lit up. I mean, he really found himself there during that time. And look at what we got to benefit from that.
Right.
From his self-reflection.
Well, we're kind of like that right now, in a way. We're kind of in prison. And those of us who are living in happiness and joy, it's because we found a way to be free. We found a way to make our life meaningful. And you know, and the ones who are not doing that are suffering, but we're not. So it's, you know, it's a good lesson to learn that the freedom comes from your mind and your heart, not in the restraints. So, you know, he's very right on with that, I think. Right on point.
Has anybody else finished the book besides me?
I'm going on 5, I think.
Yeah, I just want to say I love it. I love the ending of the book. I'm not going to share what it is, but I do love the ending of the book. And I heard him on an interview. I don't remember if it was the Jimmy Fallon one or where it was, but there is another book coming, is what I understand.
Oh, really? I don't remember hearing that, but.
Yeah, him and Jimmy were teasing each other, and Jimmy says, well, maybe I'll write a guest chapter in the book. And
oh, right.
started figuring out which one I wrote. Yeah, so I think there's going to be another book, but I loved how he just kind of summed up everything at the end of the book, and it was beautiful. Stacy said she missed all the bumper stickers, and we all need to share them with her. Can we all hold our bumper stickers up at the same time? Here you go, Stacy. That's for you.
Wait a second,
Come on, Jean, get with the program.
Oh, mine's backwards.
Maybe she can take
No,
a
you're
picture.
fine.
Somebody
I see
take a
all of them.
screenshot.
Mine's
Yeah,
backwards too.
We can screenshot it after the show.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I just backwards.
We can send it to Matthew.
Yeah, let's do a screenshot.
He'll love it. He will, even if he doesn't come on, he'll still love to see our little bumper stickers.
Stacy
Yeah.
said she took a screenshot.
Good. Oh,
Good
send
job,
it
Stacy.
to us on Soul Food.
Another. Okay. You want us to do another right now, Stacy? Is that what you're saying? Oh, and hold yours up. Well, I'm going to have a hard time doing that, honey, because mine
You
goes
have
up
to.
on the screen.
We could
Need
take
you
pictures.
on here.
We could take pictures and post them in Soul Food Book Club message board
Yeah.
Let's do
of
that.
ours, each of ours.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, this is my book on my Kindle. Can you see that, Charlie? Can you see that it has chapters?
No, I
Yeah.
can't see.
You can't see it. Mine has chapters.
It does
Yours
instead of
has-
parts.
It has chapters. And I'm on chapter 18.
18. There ain't 18.
Wow.
18. So I'm almost finished with the book.
There's only 8.
I want you to see that it did have chapters in my Kindle.
People make stuff up all the time. AI.
Never believes anything I say.
You must be reading the second book.
No.
Oh, is that it?
We're going to be in the second book. If he ever comes on, we'll be in the second book.
You got it early. Yes, he'll use our bumper stickers in the
He'll
second.
use our bumper sticker.
Go with that.
Yep. We'll help give him material.
I want a portion of the proceeds.
He couldn't have any more fun than being here, I'll tell you.
No, right? This is a fun group, and we're almost out of time. This went really fast.
I know. That's right.
Anybody else want to share any of the nuggets from the book or any of the takeaways that you're getting so far?
We could probably do a whole hour on this, but I like the thing about tribes, which is what we have. It's nice that we can share and understand each other. And if we don't, there's no judgment. You just ask what they mean, you know. Probably do a whole lot just on that.
Yeah,
that's my next page. The tribes.
Oh, okay. It's good.
There's another quote I liked. When you can, ask yourself if you want to before you do.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sometimes we're just programmed to do the next thing.
Right.
Or just say
Exactly.
yes. I mean, yes, people who are afraid to say no.
That was when he had rented the cottage and a maid came along and she was ironing his jeans.
Ironing his pants.
Yeah. And the girl and one of his girlfriends, not literally girlfriend, but a friend who was a girl, I think, said to him, "Well, do you want her to iron your jeans?" And he had come to the real, no, I don't want her to, that's where that quote came from in the book.
Right.
He anything she was doing was fine with him until he gave it a little thought. Just because she doesn't mean I necessarily want her to. And I think sometimes we find ourselves in a situation like that, where we've just always done it that way, but give it a little thought.
Yeah, why are we doing it at all? Exactly.
Now we're talking about the Course in Miracles.
Yeah, exactly. Like looking at those beliefs. Yeah, looking at the beliefs and the things that we do, thinking that's the only way to do it, right?
And this quote goes along with it that I wrote: the where, the what, the when, and who, to our why. I love that part, to our why. Why? We should ask ourselves from time to why? What is this all about? Other people have the where, the what, the when, and the who, but it's our why. Why are we? And then it says, measure people on the competence of their values that we most value. Not so much to judge them, but to come to who we are as individuals ourselves, and what is the importance of that. I kind of did that with my dad, and I just want to say, like Matthew McConaughey's dad, I took the best of my father with me after he was gone, and I keep the best of my father with me, and I treasure and value the lessons that he gave us. I don't think much about, those negative experiences. I tend to be more Pollyanna in my approach to life. And in a way, it's not being Pollyanna, it's being smart and choosing. I choose those memories and try to learn from the rest and let them go if they're not benefiting me anymore. Yeah. And actually, I think that, I wouldn't say this in front of my brothers and sisters if they're listening. Forgive me. But I feel like I had the greatest gift of love from my father, because I did confront him on those things, and later on in life, we were so compatible with one another because I didn't allow that kind of behavior, even as a child. I didn't allow it. It was wrong. It was hurtful. And because I had the courage to say something, I think that established a real healthy relationship in my adult years with my dad. Just like Matthew, he had to prove himself to me. I feel like I was proving myself to my father.
Well, not only that, Mary Lou, but I say we teach other people how to treat us. So you didn't allow that disrespect of you, which is really what it was.
Right. That's what I was. But you weren't supposed to do that in that generation. It was like not
your own rules, girlfriend.
He used to say, you better change your attitude, girly. And I'd just go in the other room and mock him saying it to me, in my own breath. You better change your attitude, girl. And I didn't agree with him. I thought he should change his attitude. He was wonderful, though. He tried to teach me to play chess. And I was not a chess person, and he tried to teach me to do my own taxes. Someday you're going to have to do this. There's no need to pay somebody else to figure out your taxes. And I'd say, and he'd say, I tried to teach your mother and she won't do it. My mother would say, oh, I'm going to die before him anyway. So after he's dead, that's the only time I'd have to do it. So why would I have to know how to do it? It's so funny,
Mary
the
Lou?
interactions.
Mary Lou, did she die before him?
She did.
There you go.
She did.
A
She never
smart
had to
woman.
work. She never had to, and so I'd sit there and say, well, why do I have to learn how to do it? I don't want to know. I was so not mathematical or a chess person. I'm creative, I am in a different realm. And I was quite happy reading books and, writing my own little mini stories and, in learning life through experience. I had no desire to do, but I think he wanted to help me stretch my mind, and he'd give me the queen and, I'd still lose every time. I'd say, why do you want to do this? But I think he wanted to, maybe he was trying to balance the discipline component by spending time with me. I don't know. But he did do one thing that I still treasure. He took me in the woods and we cut down, we'd find fallen branches of birch trees. And he took me in the basement and we'd drill 3 holes in that and flatten it on the bottom. And we'd find evergreens. And then we'd go to the 5 and dime store that was, I think it was called Newberry's up on North Street in Pittsfield. And we'd buy plastic little some kind of Christmas ornaments and candles, and we'd melt the wax on the candle into the holes that we drilled, and we'd make Yule logs. And I'd knock on all the neighbors' doors and say, I made a Yule log. Would you like to buy one for $3? And every one of the neighbors bought one from me.
You were an entrepreneur from a young
taught
age.
me to do that.
A salesman.
Yeah, he taught so many things, like the love of nature, and and the greens were all right from our woods too. The tree and the greens, and I don't think he did that with any of the other children. I don't know. Maybe he did, but I don't think so. So I think about those blessings.
Yeah, with you doing what you did, you created a shift in his energy.
Yeah, I think I did. That's what it was. That's what it was.
It was
Gary.
a shift in energy. Yeah.
It was, you know. But I think he did other things with probably other things, with the brother, with my siblings. I bet they all have a story, of things that my dad did with them, besides just whip them with the belt. That was only when he felt like we needed a lesson. It wasn't every day, all day, or anything. It was now and then. Right. I don't want to make my family out to be, like horrible.
No, it's just the way it was.
It's just after I complimented your family. I mean,
Well, we all have our things.
Oh, we do. But
We do. It's just the way it
nice
is.
that he made you feel that special. And the chances are, maybe, Mary Lou, he made each of his children
That's what I think too, Jean.
in
I
their
think
own
so.
way. And I
Yeah.
think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I
Especially
think
with
he
11.
respected you for talking back too.
He did over the years. Over
Yeah.
the years, he did. And he used to say to me, oh, well, your mother used to say, wait until your father gets home. And he said, I had to be the one, and that was when he was probably my age now. I remember him saying that to me, and it was important to him to say, I was put in that position to be the disciplinarian, because my mom pretty much didn't. She would just say, wait until your father comes home, and he's gonna find out what you did.
She wouldn't even hardly raise her voice. I remember hearing the worst thing that my grandmother ever said when she got mad at my grandpa once. She went, "Oh, Roland." And that was it. I was like, oh,
Grandma.
but you're right. What a perspective change there.
Well, because he was the man. He was the head of the household, and she was the woman who worked in the home and raised the children, and that was it. She was studying to be a nurse, and gave all that up, to raise us.
Yeah, that's what they used to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting? Do y'all find it interesting that that's like a common thing among families, that wait till your father gets home to discipline? Where did that come from, and how did that get communicated from family to family?
Right.
One of those curiosities of life, I think.
And what a position to put our men in.
Yeah.
Right.
A sad position. It wasn't fair. It was not fair. To look back at it from that perspective now, it's like, no, that wasn't fair at all to the men.
Right.
Because they get to spend very little time. Well, in my day, the mother spent the most time with the children. And the fathers, especially with Ron, sometimes he worked 3 jobs. So they got very little time to spend with him, and that was very precious to them. So why would I want to make him, that time be filled with him punishing them? I disciplined him myself. It was only if something really, really bad happened that I felt like he had to know about it. Like my daughter decided she would just leave school without any permission or anything, that I would share that with him, and he'd be with me on the discipline of that. But yeah, because they get so little time to be with their kids, be a good time, because fathers are important. Fathers are important. I really do believe that. They can make a big difference in a child's life.
Absolutely.
Get on my soapbox.
Get on your soapbox. And ladies, we have gone overtime.
And gentlemen.
And gentlemen, I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm not paying $25.
No, he's already on his phone. He's like, they just don't stop talking.
Okay, so we need to get out of here and clear the channel, but we are going to stay on Zoom because we decided we're going to chat for a few minutes about Course in Miracles and see where everybody's at with that. So we want to say goodbye to those who've been watching with us virtually. Janet, Jennifer, Stacy, Sophia, thank you for joining us today in the book club. And we'd love to have your all's input if you want to come in and join us. We haven't made a decision about what our next book is. I think next week we're still going to do Green Lights because there's still some that are still reading this wonderful book, and I can discuss it all day long. So, let's do that for next week. And I don't even have a calendar in front of me, so I don't know what this month looks like. But we'll make a decision about what our next book is going to be soon, so that we can get that information out. And any of you want to join us, you can come on in and have one of these wonderful discussions with us. So the way we end the show is to acknowledge everyone's light that's in you as the same light that's in us. And we all say, Namaste.
Namaste, y'all.
See y'all later.
I got